Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we've talked about toxicity in recent articles and recent videos. We've gone over the toxic boss situation and the workplace situations that people find unattractive at the moment and that are making headlines daily with turnovers, and people are saying, look, our people is what make our company great. Because companies have gone away from actually listening to their teammates and focusing more on what's the trend of the day would be what are the most logical and consistent complaints here recently. So I said once at the end of the year with teams that I used to run, I said, you got to think about who's made your job easier. When it was tough, who helped you and who didn't? That should say something to you. Do they make you flourish or do they slow you down? Are they helping you move forward or are they putting stuff in your way? So, around KPIs, you keep a lot of information going about keeping people informed and keeping people involved and keeping people interested. And how do you keep those same people inspired? I think all that is an answer to itself. I think if you actually genuinely care and you keep people involved, you're going to keep them informed, because by keeping them involved, they're participating in the day-to-day operations, and so you're able to keep them informed. If you keep them informed, that's going to keep them interested, and by keeping them interested, that's going to keep them inspired. One of the things that I'll say, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you run a small business, so small businesses don't have to go through some of the steps that larger businesses has to go through, based on headcount and reporting, but the national trends you should be paying attention to. So the things that are red flags for folks in large industries, you should be paying attention to those in your own industry to make sure you're doing the right things to be the good guy and be the supportive boss that's making your team productive and making them feel empowered and inspired. But beyond that, creating a place for them that suggests psychological safety, where they don't feel like they're going to be attacked for being honest and being forthcoming and being whole. One of the things I think that I've said numerous times, especially in consulting, is, what does the team say? I'll ask people that. They'll come to me with a problem that they're having within the business or within the product line or within the quality or whatever it may be. And I'll ask them, what does the team say? When you go to your jobs and you come up with your best practices, who's participating in that? If it's all leadership and it's all management, then you're not getting the accurate picture. For example, we talk about engineering design. If you go into a place and you build a plant to work a certain way and you have equipment that works a certain way, but it's not easy to use and you have to go out of the way to do things appropriately, people find shortcuts. That's natural. They can't help it. It's part of the evolution of the mind and evolution of the work. So when we talk to companies specifically in consulting about what is your work space expectation and what is the standard body of work or standard job at each workspace, that matters. Because if you don't have the accurate viewpoint of that, you have a viewpoint of what was engineered or what the initial expectation was, but not what it's evolved into, that's a problem. And from a leadership standpoint, if you're not following your vision, if you're following your ego, meaning we say it's this way, so therefore it's that way, you're not following a vision where you're supporting your team to meet a bottom line that supports your customers and the end user, then you have a problem. Because if your people don't feel appreciated, they won't care about the vision, they won't care about how you think or how you feel. And if you don't spend time explaining how you feel and what you're doing to support how they feel, and if you don't spend time explaining your vision and what the expectations are, and if you don't spend time explaining how their specific job is important to the big picture, then you're going to have a situation where you demotivate and disempower your team. So when we talk about toxicity, just remember, that's the bad guy, right? There are many, many good guys. There's many ways to be a good guy. Supporting your team and doing those things where they feel heard and they feel like they're important, they feel like they have an ear where they can come to do the job well, but also that if they have suggestions around improving the workspace or improving the environment, then so be it. Listen to those things and see what kind of quality they can bring forward. At the end of the day, the key point around being a good leader is how you make your team feel, how you sustain your team, etc. Now, this isn't saying you dismiss disciplinary objectivity, because remember the 20-70-10 rule. 20% of your people are going to be superstars. 70% are going to be the salt of the earth that come in and do everything you need them to do. And 10%, either you're going to be coaching up or you're going to be coaching out. You're going to do something to try to make them improve, or you're going to do something just from a disciplinary standpoint that has them exit the business. So all that still being appropriate, you still should be working full time on taking care of your team and building a better workspace. And this is because if you expect people to go a career and work for you as a career, then your thought process should be, I want them to bring me their best work every day, and I want that to happen for a long time. And for me to get that expectation out of my workforce, then I have to deliver a situation where they feel comfortable in doing that. So the opposite of toxicity is a place that's welcoming and making you feel at home. Diversity and inclusion objectives have tried to drive that. It's kind of like we're going to rule by process. If you do what's appropriate, that will already be in place, because what's happening is you're hiring the right people, you're training them up on what you expect, and you're getting out of the way so they can achieve. And once you allow someone to achieve under their own understanding and meet the goals and do those things as expected, then they're going to be more motivated because they're going to feel successful in the role and they're going to feel fulfilled in the role. So that's just a little bit about how you combat toxicity and how you create a new trend if you've been in this place. But I always end with a comment around entrepreneurs and people that are self-employed. You have to drive these expectations inside your company, especially if your population is less than 100 people, if you have 50 or so people or something like that, where you're not going to have national feedback, you're not going to have certain agencies doing certain inspections, etc., then you have to do those yourself, and you have to be honest on how you're doing these things. And tenure sometimes can suggest it. So if you see there's a situation, especially in a specific role, where you have continuous turnover at it, unless it's a role that's extremely difficult where people break down over time because they're just exhausted from it. If it's a standard role that is a standard body of work that is comparable to what all these other companies do, and they sustain their teams, then you should be sustaining your team. And if you see that the job expectation at your company is shorter than it is elsewhere, then you need to look at that, because that telltale sign might be giving you information that is valuable and that you'd have to pay for if you did that somewhere else. So around combating toxicity, the way you do it is care about your people genuinely. You can't fake it. Listen to it often and re-review and reassess often. That should be part of your full-time work week. That should be part of your expected time spent each week that's planned and booked on your calendar. So that's how you combat toxicity. That's how you change things in the workspace. And if you have to recover from what was formerly a toxic environment, this is the best way to do that as well. So hopefully this is content that you're interested in. If it is, if it's useful to you, please like and subscribe, and please share the channel with those that you think might gain a benefit from this. But toxicity is something that's commonly in our headlines these days, and this is how you combat it. This is how you do it from an objective approach that then is replicatable and sustainable. So if you do these things and you make it part of your scheduled work week, you ultimately can have an impact on that for your organization and for your teammates. I'm Ben. Be good.